Excellent. Do I need to open up a YouTube or no?
Well, it's going to create a different stream.
All right, fantastic. All right, I think. Thanks, G. All right, sweet. I'm going to say we're live. That's what I'm going to say. Add scene. Let's just get here. Can I add it to the scene? Yes, I can. This is a live stream. I am Patrick Coffin. I'm a podcaster. I was born in Canada, so I'm a recovering communist, and I'm here in beautiful America, where I became a citizen 4 years ago without a mask. Long story. I'm going to just enlarge this here and try to make this work. All right, excellentness. That doesn't, no. Okay, so we're going to talk about the worst movies ever. Want to hear your turkeys, your clunkers, the worst films you've ever seen. We're going to open up the aperture a little bit. See what I did there? Aperture, cinematography. And talk about films that we saw when we were younger and we thought they were awesome. Then we watched them later as adults and we felt shame inside for what we saw in them. Joining me is writer, actor, producer, and singer Mathew Marsden. He won the Newcomer Award in British television land for his role as Chris Cooper, the mechanic on the longest running, most accoladed series in TV history in the UK, Coronation Street. He's also a singer, and he was in Black Hawk Down and the Transformer movies, and he played Michael Caine's father, and he wrote and directed and starred and produced a film called I Am That Man. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mathew Marsden.
Thank you very much, sir. By the way, I hope I didn't play Michael Caine's father.
That's great.
Else I would be...
That's awesome. Can't hear him.
I'd be a little bit old,
Hey,
wouldn't I?
Matt, got a little sound issue.
Uh-oh. Have you got me on mute?
Hey, we have no sound. Yay. I love this. Connection was disconnected. Weren't able to stream to that destination. Okay, that's fine. Mathew, can you hear me, brother? Just nod if you can hear me. Okay. I am not able to hear Mathew. No, I can't hear Matt at all. Strange.
Okay.
Yep, volume's way up. Check 1, 2.
Did you do Pengo?
I did, yeah. Pengo's totally fine.
For the mic too?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, Pengo grabber. Mic is on. Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let me try this one more time. Check. Yeah. Wow. All right, we're going to work through this and find out why Mathew is not heard by me. We've got... All right, so fix this now. Yeah, hey, it's really fun.
Hey, I'm watching the live.
Yeah.
Change your output device.
The what?
Output device.
Do you mean audio?
That's why you're on. Yeah, your audio device.
Okay. The
no,
output.
can you guys hear me? I'm just looking out there.
Okay, check 1, 2. Say something now, Matt.
They can't hear Pat.
No, he can't. Doesn't work.
Listen.
Change on the system, the Mac system also.
The what system?
The Mac OS system.
Okay, now I got Mathew calling me. Okay, system settings.
Can you guys hear me? I know Pat
Okay.
can't, but all he's got to do is transfer it over to speaker.
What am I checking?
Go to sound and check if you are choosing the right device for output.
Sound. Output. Yeah, MacBook, built-in Air speakers. Yeah, it is. Check 1, 2.
How's the volume?
I can't hear anything he's saying, but he can hear me.
Oh, good. You guys can hear me. Pat will get there in a minute.
But I can't hear anything my guest is saying. So check 1, 2. Try again, Matt.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I got it. See, thanks, G. See, there's a little button that's got a little like speaker icon. I think it has to do with sound. So I think we're copacetic with.
Yeah, if you'd have looked at the text I just sent you, then I would
Yeah,
have you'd have known. But
I,
anyway,
I
I'm having a glass of wine, so
good.
cheers.
Yeah, we'll have three more and we'll be ready. Yes, I was on the phone with my producer. So great success. First of all, speaking of success, Matthew, I wanted to ask you a question I don't think I've ever asked you before, and that is,
All right.
have you ever? No, you don't have to name names, but have you ever appeared in a film where you wanted to Alan Smithy it? You just so bitterly regretted that you said yes because the finished product was precious little in resemblance to what you thought it was going to be. That
Yeah.
ever happened to you?
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, Michael Caine said to me, which by the way, I was saying when you couldn't hear me, that I didn't play Michael Caine's dad. All right, because that would have been unbelievable. But
But you are old, and he's a young soul. No,
he is a
yeah,
young soul. No, but I did one film and the script was absolutely phenomenal. But Michael Caine said to me when I worked with him, he goes, nobody sets out to make bad movies. And you never know what it's going to be like. And an edit can make all the difference. So I did one. I mean, look, I'm one of those guys that I just love to work. So, every job for me presents a different challenge. So I enjoy all of them. But there was certainly one that I did. I'm not going to say what it is. And the script was absolutely brilliant. And when I saw the end result, I was like, oh man, you guys like massively dropped the ball on that one.
so many ingredients go into that magical finished product. Like you think of a movie like Midnight Run or Groundhog Day, and the casting is so much of the heart of it. You think Jimmy Stewart is the only sort of born to play George Bailey, right?
Yeah.
So casting and even lighting. I always say I can tell a Canadian movie by the lighting. The lighting is like D-list. I don't know why that is. That just you can tell. It's like I can tell Christian rock, Christian worship, because it's so derivative. Even
Yeah.
after 1 or 2 seconds, yeah, that's a nice try.
Yeah.
Trying to be like Hollywood.
No, 100%. And I think that it's because I mean, when you make a movie, what you want to do is get the right balance. So you want to get, as far as the shots are concerned, like when I directed I Am That Man, I knew I didn't have a lot of time because I didn't have a lot of money, but I took time in making the lighting really great, and I got a great gaffer, and the movie looks very good. I mean, it massively punches above its weight. But then you look at something like, I don't understand that you haven't even made this look cinematic and the lighting's very flat. And it doesn't have to be like that. But I mean, if you look, there's a big difference between, like, you watch Fincher's movies, and Fincher's movies always look beautiful. Like, they always look amazing.
David Fincher, right?
Yeah. Fincher, like, I mean, he uses that, like, dark, lots of cyans, and, so he uses a lot of contrast and shadows in his films, but they always look amazing. And if you look back, like, so he directed, believe it or not, the Freedom 90 video by George Michael, which is like hugely iconic. And if you look at that pop video, it really sets the tone for all of his movies.
Yeah, you can kind of tell, like a snapshot. I can always tell, say, a Spielberg movie, because if he always used the same cinematographer, I think it's pronounced Janusz Zaremski, the Polish.
Yeah, he was he didn't used to. That guy worked with me on Black Hawk Down.
That's right, Janusz Zaremski.
He's amazing. Janusz, yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know, and then let's see. There are movies that we've seen when we were kids and we thought they were really cool. A good example of that is a film that was like, it wowed me when I first saw it, 40 feet tall in Halifax, Nova Scotia, at the Capitol Theatre on Gottingen Street. Not that I remember, but that's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yeah.
You watch it today, it's like, how many of the creators were on acid when they made that film?
I know, it's crazy. But you know what? It's Spielberg to me. Like, if I could work with anyone before I die or before he dies, it would be Spielberg, because I just absolutely love his storytelling. You know, he has a magical way of telling stories. And by the way, here's a bit of trivia for you. If you watch The Dark Knight, when Bale goes to go down to the Batcave, he plays the first three chords of Close Encounters.
Oh, okay, right on. And then how many films have tried to match the Hitchcockian suspense of Jaws? To me, pretty close to a perfect movie. Jaws really holds up. If you want a film that will grab you by the lapels and keep you there, it's Jaws.
Yeah, it's probably
What about-
my. I've got to say, it's probably my favorite film of all time.
Really, more than Hot Tub Time Machine?
I'm glad you said that and not something worse. You know, I mean, I just think that it's a very very special movie, and I think that you know when you look back at there's a great documentary called the Shark Stays in the Picture,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a lot of problems on that movie, and to be honest, it ended up benefiting the film.
Mm-hmm.
Not having the shark, you know, the shark Bruce, who I had the same attorney. His name's Bruce Raymer, Spielberg's attorney, and that's where you get the name of the shark from. And
Yeah.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
that's why in Finding Nemo, the shark's name's Bruce.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes.
We're really good at trivia, I'll tell you. Invite me round to the pub, and you want to talk about movie trivia, I got it by the bucket load, mate.
Movie trivia? Yeah, me too. I'm a veritable factory.
Mhm.
On my list would have to be. I think the films that are supposed to be bad are deliciously bad and therefore cool, like Plan 9 from Outer Space. All the movies that made it to Mystery Science Theater 3000. Have you seen that with the three little figures down
Yeah,
below
it's
making fun
great.
of it? So good. There's a movie. I think it's Journey to the Center of the Earth. Ishtar. Awesome.
And they made
Uh,
a new one, didn't they? They made a remake with Brendan Fraser, I believe.
mm-hmm. Yeah, correcto.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you know, it's really funny, Pat, because like today, I told you earlier on, I watched The Martian for the first time, and it really is a great film. It really is a great film, and it made me really reminisce about the scripts that I used to get were such high quality with such
Mhm.
great writing in, and that is just completely absent now in Hollywood. It's
Now,
just garbage.
just so we clarify, you know that The Martian is not a documentary, right? That was a fictional
What?
presentation with Mac with
No,
Matt.
no, it's true.
Matt Damon was pretending to be
Is that
a,
Matt
Mar-
Damon?
a Martian. Yeah, he plays a Martian. I think no, I don't think he does. Um, do you have movies that you wish you'd get your money back from, or at least your 2 hours back?
Do you know
'Cause
the first movie that I ever the first and actual only movie I've ever walked out on was a movie called The Delinquents with Kylie Minogue, and it was that bad that I remember going in and watching it and going, and I was poor, right? So I was
that
like, I am
that
watching this
sentence,
film, huh?
just that sentence alone.
I mean, it was just so bad. Um, yeah, I mean, there's been a few that I've watched recently as well that have been on Netflix that are
Yeah.
just really bad. I
Uh,
mean, the majority of the Star Wars, I don't even. I loved Star Wars, and I tested for Star Wars when they were rebooting it. And the recent Star Wars movies have been absolute garbage, like from top to
they
bottom.
woke destroyed it. Yeah.
Killed it.
Did you see? How about Spice Girls? Can we talk about that or no?
Spice Girls a movie,
Yeah.
dude. It's a masterpiece.
I walked out of with my family when my girls were young. Marley and Me, the alleged comedy with Owen Wilson about a
Yeah,
dog who dies. She has Jennifer Aniston has a traumatic miscarriage, and they're the couple. I don't think they're married. They go to Ireland and they're in this Airbnb and they're lying together in the bed, and you hear squeak, squeak, squeak of the next room, and or I think it's them. I think it's them fornicating, and there are pictures of the Blessed Mother and the Sacred Heart, and both Jennifer Aniston and Owen Wilson's character talk about how creepy it is, these creepy religious place. So I got my money back. I said, okay, that's it. This movie can't undo itself now. It was rated like PG-13, which was borderline. Maybe there was a fart joke or something. And I explained to the manager that I went in poker face, Matt. You would have been proud of me. I just watched a film, sir, in which Islam is insulted. They go to a Muslim Airbnb and they're making fun of a statue of Muhammad, and I was offended. Really, really what? No, actually was Catholics. It was Marley and me. And I explained the scene, and I got my money back. So you can do that.
Well, it's funny that you went in. You said that there was a statue of Muhammad, which there is no such thing, right?
No,
So
I knew he wouldn't know that. Yeah, that's correct.
no,
Right.
but I mean, here's the thing, Pat, as well. I mean, someone asked me the other day, like, what was the best decade for movies? And that's a really tough question. I think that, you could certainly go back to the 60s. The 60s was, you had some great Oscar winners in there. You had A Man for All Seasons, which is a masterpiece. You had Sound of Music, which is another masterpiece. And then, of course, the Hays Code died, and then it just went full turbo, just horrible.
They say 39 is the zenith. You had Gunga Din, you had Wizard of Oz, you had Ninotchka, a wonderful romantic comedy, Ninotchka, starring Greta Garbo. Then there are films that try so hard to be angsty and edgy, and one of those it's Kenneth Lonergan, Manchester by the Sea, with the very talented Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams.
He's very good.
He's good. This movie, have you seen it? Manchester by the Sea. If you're feeling good about life, feeling groovy, watch the movie. It will send you into a downward spiral. It's terrible. In fact, Lonergan said he wanted to make a movie for those people for whom life doesn't work out. It's like nihilism.
Pat, we have, and we've spoken about this a lot on our phone conversations, and this is very, very frustrating for me, is that we have a real lack of hope. We don't make movies that are uplifting. We don't make movies that are aspirational anymore, hardly at all. If one sneaks through, then firstly, it makes a ton of money. But secondly, it is by complete chance that it makes its way through. And it's very frustrating for me because I've got, as you know, I have a bunch of films that are ready to go, and I just cannot get conservatives, or certainly not Catholics, who are the worst when it comes to investing. They won't put any money behind them. And we desperately need that for the world, because we don't have inspirational leaders today like we did in the 80s with Thatcher and Reagan and Mother Teresa and Pope John Paul. We don't have those dynamic leaders that are aspirational. And we don't have the good movies. Our music is absolute garbage right now. I mean, I'm sure your girls are the same, but all my kids do is listen to 80s music. That's all they do. And I remember thinking 80s music was crap, and now we look back at it going, oh, so amazing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, put on. Well, it's the early 80s. ELO or Supertramp. Early Queen with the peerless Freddie Mercury. It's back when people earned a living and auto-tune was beyond the future. That's true.
Yeah. Real talent.
So movies, do you have a special hatred for any on your top 5 worst?
Oh, a special hatred. I need to think about that. There's a few. I mean, I certainly have actors that I think are completely overrated, and I can't say they are, but there are actors where that people go, oh, they are so great. I'm like, what do you like? The greatest actor of all time, I believe, is Daniel Day-Lewis. I think he's peerless. I think that there's nobody that can touch him.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything he does is just great. And he's one of those guys that you go. So as an actor, I look at these guys and genuinely, because a lot of them went through National Youth Theatre like I did, and you look at them and you're like, yeah, I could do that. Like, I know I could do that. There's two guys that are just beyond anybody else, and that is
Let me
modern
guess.
times.
Gonna guess the other one.
Yeah,
Gary Oldman.
of course,
I get it
he's
right?
unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
Living
look at him
legend.
and I go, I don't know how you do that.
Hmm.
He can be big and totally convincing. Like anyone else does what Gary Oldman does. It's like even that, he's just in Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's so great in that role. And he's so big. He's so, for those that don't know about this, you have to act differently on stage than you do on screen, right? Because when you're on stage, obviously you make your gestures bigger. And when you're on screen, you have to bring it down because often they're like this big on your face, right? So you can't be doing these giant movements or expressions. And Gary Oldman manages to do theater style, gestures, and you're totally enthralled by him.
Yeah,
And
he
I
did
don't know
that.
how he does it.
Hmm. You think Drexel, the Caribbean mixed race,
Unbelievable.
goggle-eyed, yeah, in
Unbelievable.
Romance, or the professional with Leon, what's his name?
Jean Reno.
Jean Reno. Thank you, the professional. Natalie Portman's first film. Um, then there's a movie with stellar A-listers. May she rest in peace, Diane Keaton, Al Pacino, Sofia Coppola. I refer, of course, to Godfather 3, the unmentionable abomination of desolation prophesied by Holy Red. To follow up those two masterpieces with something so clunkily written. I say this as someone who's very devoted, especially to the first Godfather. It almost had the feeling of that this is a money grab.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that.
Whoa.
So if you go up to Coppola's Vineyard up in Napa, I don't know if you've been there, but I was invited up there, so I got the tour and everything. And initially, he had like one little corner, and then he did Dracula, and he bought this like giant vineyard, and he's actually got the set of armor that Gary Oldman wears. When he comes home and Mina's dead, and he's like, "I saw my dad," and he's going like that. And I mean, nobody else could do that. Like when he sticks the sword in the cross, I mean, he's just like, it's just such a tour de force. But I mean, I love the two. I mean, everyone goes to like Godfather's greatest movie of all time. I can see why they say that. It's beautifully shot. It's impeccably acted. It's the writing's fantastic, obviously, because it comes from Mario Puzo's novel. It's fantastic stuff. And it's got a good shout for the greatest movie of all time. I mean, it's up there with oh my gosh, what's the one? I can see his face right now. The guy who did War of the Worlds.
Shaun of the Dead.
Hey, listen, I love Shaun of the Dead, man. Shaun of the Dead is fantastic.
I do. Great zombie parody movie.
What's it? Red Rum. What's the movie now?
Jack Nicholson.
No.
Well, that's Red Rum.
No,
Red Rum. It's The Shining.
No, not Red Rum. What's the? Oh my gosh!
You said the name of it. You were going to the title of the movie.
I can't remember the name of it. It's slipping my mind. Right, the guy who did Orson Welles. What's the
Orson Welles? Yeah.
What's the great movie you did now?
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. I don't.
Yeah,
listen,
beautiful.
This is what you do when you have muscle relaxants. You have a glass of wine, and you shouldn't really do that. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Mathew is a high functioning drug addict. Go ahead with your story, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I mean, so you've got like Godfather. I think is up there. I think that Citizen Kane is up there. I actually think It's a Wonderful Life is up there. I mean, it's got to have a shout for one of the greatest movies of all time. I think
maybe the greatest ever made. This is the temptation.
Yeah.
When you talk about the worst, you automatically think the best, right? The antidote to the worst.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of worst movies. I think if we're going to switch to that, what we were going to talk about, there's a lot of bad movies, and I think to term a bad movie really is something, as you said, like Godfather 3, that had all these great elements and just flopped badly, like was just very badly made. But my point is it's very difficult. You know, you mentioned ELO earlier. Well, ELO have been making great songs for years and years and years. It's like U2. You might not like their politics, but they keep making great songs.
Alice Cooper,
Alice
David
Cooper,
Bowie in his tenure.
yeah, and that takes a very special person. And I think it's the same when you look at movies to replicate that. So if you look at the guy who did Boondock Saints, you know, he made that movie. Everyone was like blown away by him, and then he kind of like implode. I mean, he had some kind of argument, I believe, with Weinstein. I think it was Weinstein, but you didn't get the second movie until many, many years later. And I think it's very difficult to when you make your opus your first movie, right? Because you take everything from your life and you put it in that one movie, and then it's a success. The difficulty is doing the second one. It's like,
Totally.
you know what I mean? It's like the
I do,
second
yeah.
album.
You got the fear of God in you, and everything's on the line, and you mortgage your house and so on. People say that Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense was his first. It wasn't. It was his third movie. He did a feature-length film called Pray with Anger in film school, and then he did a movie that Weinstein picked up for Miramax called Wide Awake, starring. Now, this is someone whose politics makes me upchuck, and I just find a lot of the things she has said repulsive. But I have to say, conscience impels me to say that Rosie O'Donnell, as a nun, a geography teacher in this Catholic school in Philadelphia, is sweet and charming. So check, Robert Loggia's in it, and it's about a little boy whose grandfather has died of bone cancer, and he's trying to figure out if his grandfather made it to heaven. That's Night Shyamalan's first kind of Hollywood film. And it was that movie that Bruce Willis saw and plunked it on the desk of Disney, whoever the decision maker was, and said, I want to be in this next kid's movie. He knows what he's doing. And that next movie was The Sixth Sense, where he plays child psychologist Malcolm Crowe. For my money, a fantastic supernatural thriller. And Knight's films have just maybe tried to capture that lightning in a bottle with kind of unexpected endings. And then you had Signs, and then you had The Village, and then it just kind of, I don't know. It's just hard to do. I don't have any judgment against him because next to Everest, everything's a small hill, you know?
Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing, Pat. He's a writer-director, and that's very difficult. If you look at the greats, they're not normally writer-directors.
That's true. Hitchcock never wrote films.
Hitchcock didn't write. Spielberg doesn't write. Ridley Scott doesn't write. I mean,
do you know
Michael Mann does, but he's like an anomaly. I mean, those guys are just like freaks, you know, like James Cameron, just brilliant writer and has the whole vision. But really traditionally, and you want that because, Pat, you want the push and pull, right? Because when writers write a script, they're like, this is what I think should be made. And then the director comes in and says, well, actually, there's a bunch of stuff in there that doesn't need to be in there. Now, a writer puts that in because he thinks it should be in the movie. But the director knows that it doesn't have to be because he shot the movie in his head. And Spielberg says this when he goes on and he's shooting a film. He's already shot it. He knows all the shots in his head. And so, you know, I believe that that's one of the reasons why Spielberg is so great. I mean, even if you look at Clint Eastwood, this is a different thing. So Clint Eastwood, if he likes a script that you send him, he will not touch it and he'll just shoot the script. So you've got to get your script totally dialed in to get Clint Eastwood to do your film. Because if there's any rewriting, he's like, I'm not doing it. But others, you go through a process. And, you know, we certainly went through the process on Black Hawk Down. And I've had rewrites on every movie I've done. Yeah. Every one.
Did you read Hitchcock Godard? It's a big, thick Q&A. It's an extended interview that was done in 1965, I think, in a Beverly Hills hotel with a French translator. It's if you're a cinephile, that's C-E-N-E, not S-I-N, cinephile, lover of films. this is kind of a must have book. One of the questions that Jean-Luc Godard, the godfather of French New Wave filmmaking, he said, "How's your next film coming?" And I think at the time it was Frenzy. It was a film he did in the late '60s, and he said, "Oh, you can just hear that sardonic English, slow talking accent. Oh yes, the next film is almost finished. We just have to add in the dialogue." So Hitchcock was all about the structure, right?
Yeah.
The movie as building blocks, not movie as the funny line.
Yeah, well, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, and I get this a lot because my superpower is really identifying good scripts, and I know that might sound ridiculous, but I can tell if a script has been rewritten. I can also, because I've read thousands of them, and I come from like a theatre background, so I immediately see the structure of it. And that's like number one, right? Is it structured effectively in three different acts? Then you start looking at the character arcs, like the overall character arc, and then you start looking at the mini character arcs in between, and do they make sense? And then lastly, you start looking at the dialogue. And sometimes, they need a little bit of work because the way I tell people to think about a painter. A painter's really thinking about getting the whole picture. Okay, but when an actor comes in, he's looking at the one little part that affects him. So he's looking at that one. Let's just say, you're looking at a Turner picture and there's a little person in there. The actor's just looking at that person. And what they will do often is pick up on something that the director or the writer have missed, because that's if they don't try and bend it to themselves, which I hate to say it, a lot of Americans do that. They don't look and say, how can I fit myself into this role? They say, how can I bend this role to fit me? Because it's, either I don't have the talent or I don't have, I'm too lazy to do it. But so if you look like minutely like that at your role, and you're like, okay, the structure's there, the arc makes sense, and the dialogue is good, then, you're off to a good one. And then what you're looking at is, if they got the right DP, is he shooting on the right camera? Is he coming in nice and close for this, and then within the scenes themselves, I was telling an actor this the other day, like I'm really anal about where my hands are and what I do in a take. So if I'm going to have a drink, I always hit the drink bang on the same time every time. And a lot of people, that's not in their like psyche to do that. And so that becomes a real nightmare for the editor, which is another part of the filmmaking. And then the editor is like, I can't use the best tape because he did one part where his glass was up to here, and the second part, his glass was down. So, there are all these things that go together to make a great movie. And then you have studio interference. So,
Here's a good example of a movie that has all the ingredients. It has a score that may be one of the best in history by Ennio Morricone. I'm talking about the movie The Mission with Robert Duvall and Jeremy Irons. It's about the Jesuit missions above the Guarani Falls in South America. But the ending, now I don't know who did the final edit. It was written by Robert Bolt, who's a genius. He wrote Man for All Seasons, the play and the film. But at the end, I've seen it 3 or 4 times. I have no idea what's happening. It's arrows flying and there's bullets and there's the monstrous and it's kind of slow. There's a voiceover from the Cardinal. How did this happen? I have the same complaint about Full Metal Jacket. The first half is riveting, not just the Lee Ermey scenes and the character development and Anthony, what's his name, Vince D'Onofrio's, Pyle character, but at the end it all just kind of comes unglued. Do you agree? I just thought it's like the fart and the fly at the end.
Well, I always think when you have a movie that ends up that has that, like a voiceover, is normally a patch. You know what I mean? To kind of fix something that was broken. I mean, that movie was directed by Roland Joffe, who oddly enough lives in Malta now for some reason. I don't know why. He actually just did a movie like 2 years ago, a big Mormon movie, actually, believe it or not.
against by or about?
I don't know. I think it was for them, for the
Okay.
Mormons.
Well, he did one for the Catholics that was not great, called There Be Dragons.
Well, and again, I got the script for that, and I knew that
Hmm.
the movie was going to be a disaster when I got the script.
Yeah, so you can tell. Is it like on page one, Matthew? Could you smell a dog on page one?
Not page one. I think sometimes
You,
you can.
you can
Sometimes you
tell. You
can.
can tell an amateur who doesn't know the format.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But for me, it was like there were so many elements of it at that point. But listen, I had this about Pirates of the Caribbean, and this is a funny story. So I got Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'd just come off Black Hawk Down, and so they were like, "Hey, listen, Matt, they really like you for Pirates of the Caribbean." And I read the script. I'm like, I have no idea what this movie is. I don't know what it is. It looks ridiculous. And then so I was like, I don't even want to read for it at that point. And anyway, years later, I worked with Kevin McNally, who was Jack Sparrow's right-hand man.
Hmm.
And I went, Jack, I went, Kevin, so I said, you got to tell me, man. Like, I read that script. I thought it was terrible. And he went, oh, I turned it down 3 times. It was so bad. And then they just turned it around in production and just nailed it. And then it became a juggernaut. So, you never know. People like Jerry Bruckheimer, they know. Like, normally they'll want to make sure they've got the finished article before they move forward, but otherwise they'll say, you know what, we got a great concept, let's get it going, we got Johnny, we got these other elements, and we'll figure it out. And normally they do, because they bring in like Steve Zalian or Steve Gagan or my buddy Ken Nolan, these really big screenwriters, and those guys are just amazing. But I can tell the tone when it changes, when another writer comes in and go, they just shoehorn that scene in, and it does affect the flow of the film.
Yeah, has that kind of patchwork quilt to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes a writer will get really good in one genre, and they'll roll the dice on having him write something else. This happened to great success with Ernest Lehman. Ernest Lehman wrote one of the most airtight, brilliant scripts ever for North by Northwest for Alfred Hitchcock, but he also wrote The Sound of Music. He structured the dialogue and so on, and the structure of the screenplay for the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, and Robert Wise directed it. But that's the exception, that someone can go from one genre and really excel in another one. Because normally, you can't have too many hats as an expert in Hollywood. That's what the whole basis of a type is, right?
Yeah, well, it's also it's really funny. I was going to tell a story then, but I probably shouldn't. About I can kind of tell it. I can kind of tell the story.
No, don't. We don't want to hear it. No, go ahead.
No, but to your point, if you write a great movie that's in like the sci-fi genre, then they're going to come back to you and ask you to do another one in the sci-fi genre. I mean, that's just what they do. And then it's same as an actor. I had someone say to me once, "Can you do comedy?" I'm like, "If you give me good material, I can do whatever you want. I'm an actor. That's what I do." And then I go and do 2.5 Men, and you've got 10 screenwriters there that are tweaking the comedy as you go. I mean, it's almost impossible with that level writing to not be funny. I mean, you got to have comic timing, but that's part of learning how to be an actor.
Do you know? Sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to tell you the story. Do you want to hear the story?
No, I don't. But anyway, no, I do, of course.
No, so I got a script once, and they said, I can't say who the actor is, but they went, "We
Just
want."
tell me, and I'll say it.
Okay, I'll say it's Pat Coffin. They were like, "We need like someone like Pat Coffin in this role," and for one of the other roles I was going up for, and my buddy knew the actor, and he wasn't working. And so me being an idiot, I was like, "Hey, why don't you give him the script? Because they're looking for someone like him. Someone like Patrick Coffin." And he goes, "Okay." So he gets it to the actor, and the actor reads it and loves the role. And he gets his agent to call up, and his agent says, "Hey, listen, so-and-so wants the job." And the casting director said, no, we wanted someone like him. We
Oh,
didn't
ouch.
want him.
Ouch. So like they want a Matthew Marsden. They want an Al Pacino, but not Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me at
No,
all.
that doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's like a same church but different pew. What? So here's one for you. Actor's phone rings and he can tell it's his agent's number and he picks it up and he's breathless and he's been out of work for a while. He goes, "Yeah, you sitting down?" "Yeah, I am." Because I don't know how to tell you this. "Oh, what is it? What is it?" "Well, your manager, your talent manager." "Yeah, okay. What about him?" "Well, I just saw him leave your house on the side door, and your wife was in her bathrobe saying goodbye, and he like gave her a flower and a little kiss and left." And the actor says, "My manager was at my house?"
No, it's funny because it's so true. When I first went to Hollywood, I remember working with Michael Caine before I went there, and he had the same agent his whole life. And I'm like, that, because that's the kind of guy I am, right? I'm like, this is great. I want to be with the same agent my whole life. So I went to Hollywood and I was way too trusting. And they're all over you. It's hard for people to understand what it's like and how they shower you with gifts and everything to get you. And once they get you, you can't get them on the phone.
It's the Jerry Maguire protocol.
It's exactly.
Yeah, great movie too.
That is a great movie.
So Shiner, just speaking of Michael Caine, he comes from that generation where a handshake and an agreement would have sealed. He probably didn't have a contract with his agent, as Alice Cooper never signed with Shep Gordon. He's been his manager for 50 years. That's the previous generation where your word was iron.
Yeah. It's just not like that in it. I mean, the agents are terrible. I mean, I mean, my experience has been horrendous. I think the difficulty is, when you are doing movies, like when I first went to Hollywood, I was getting offers, and you don't need an agent then. You need an agent when you're not getting work or when things are going tough, and then they'll just drop you. And I went from being at the most powerful agency to the second most powerful agency to the third most powerful agency, and then not having an agent because I committed the cardinal sin of being a Catholic conservative, and that is not acceptable in Hollywood. But I mean, going back to your worst movies, you could go through. Like, what is it, Leprechaun in New York? You could go for those like really terrible ones, but that those ones were never meant to be any good.
Like Sharknado.
Yeah, Sharknado is a cheesy movie. I mean, listen, people talk about the movie I did, Anacondas, and they're remaking it. By the way, I haven't had a call to go to the premiere, but Anacondas was still, it was when they made B movies and they were fun and
they were fun. That's the key. They knew what they were.
Yeah, I mean, that movie, I actually didn't want to do it initially. I was up for 2 other films, and I thought I was going to go and do those 2 other films, and I got the call from my agent. I mean, now I'd have someone's arm off to go and do a movie like that because the everything is just constricted so much, but I didn't really want to do it. But then, that movie made a ton of money. It was number 2 at the box office, for that... for that week. And by the way, that Roger Ebert said that I was the one to watch in it, just so you know.
Cool. That's awesome.
As the villain,
which
is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But those movies are what they are. I think it's different. When you're looking at bad movies, you have to look at a movie that is kind of touted as being great, which I'd say that 90% of the ones that are nominated for Oscars now are terrible.
Isn't it just bad? That's like it's the new metric, isn't it? The new criterion. It has to be bad before it'll make the nomination list.
Well, I've got to the point now, like, there's a bunch of like goals I gave myself in my life, and obviously, the pinnacle as an actor is to eventually win an Oscar. And the first movie I did in Hollywood won 2 Oscars. So I was like, I am right on the way, right? Like it's only a
Hmm.
matter of time before I get a shot. And now I wouldn't even put it in my bathroom because it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, it's
It's
like it's a countersign to the excellence it used to represent, if it
Yeah,
did.
and they're like, they crown these people Oscar winners. I saw the way it works from the inside. The way that everyone talks, the agents talk about. They'll find one star and then they'll just talk about him, talk about him, talk about him, and they can have flop, 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 but they'll keep saying they're amazing, they're amazing, they're amazing, and then they eventually win an Oscar and they go, see, look at how amazing they are.
Yeah, an overnight success after 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not like I don't think I've seen anyone in recent years that's deserved the mantle. I mean, the last one who I thought was absolutely amazing was obviously Gary Oldman, who should have won 3 other Oscars before then. And I mean, even with Denzel Washington should have won for The Hurricane. Well, when he won for Training Day, I was like, hang on a minute, you're rewarding a black guy for playing a crooked cop drug dealer?
Well, speaking of
What?
Training Day, I'm glad you brought up Training Day. Training Day is another example of a film where it seems like the protagonist is one thing, but it's another thing. Like The Sound of Music, the protagonist of The Sound of Music is not the captain. Excuse me, is not Maria. Oh, Julianne. No, the protagonist is the captain. He has the big story arc from emotionally frozen to giving his life to young Maria. She's like sweet and kind of chaotic ADHD the whole time through. Denzel's character is a corrupt, thuggish cop at the beginning, and at the end of the movie, he's a thuggish, corrupt cop. It's Ethan Hawke's character that has the big arc, for the loss of innocence to wisdom at the end. I love the film. Antoine
Fuqua.
Fuqua, another actor, director, writer.
Yeah, I met him. I auditioned for him for King Arthur to play
Okay.
Lancelot. And my
Okay.
buddy got it. So Johan Grufford got it, which I'm like, okay, that's all right. It was a very weird audition actually when I went in for that because he goes, it's a great speech. It was a fantastic speech written about like we will ride into Valhalla or we'll ride into battle and we'll see each other in Valhalla. And Antoine goes, just talk about it like you're 2 guys down the pub. And I went,
Like
he just didn't.
like
He just didn't read like that,
do
and
the St. Crispian speech from Henry V, like you're at a speakeasy. Wow.
It was just weird. I mean, you could tell the way the writer had wanted it, and it just didn't fly with me. But I mean, clearly Owen did it and got it, which is good for him. But I mean, the movie didn't do very well. But no, I mean, he's a fantastic director. I mean, I love what he does with The Equalizer. Like, love those movies.
Yeah,
But
they're good ones.
but to your point, it's funny because someone said on the chat, "Gangs of New York," which is a great film, and it makes me think of another one that I think is absolutely dreadful, which is The Irishman.
Yeah, I'd like my 4 hours back. I can tell the
crap,
CGI.
man.
Although it's pretty funny seeing Latin spoken with a lisp with Father James Martin doing the baptism scene.
I mean, it's like they're just poking you in the eye, aren't they? When you get Father James Martin doing it, but I mean, like Robert De Niro, I mean, such a absolute tour de force of an actor, like playing a role like that where he can't even kick a guy, 'cause, it looks all weird and
Faxing it in.
yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Again, it's a classic Scorsese, right? Does gangster movie after gangster movie after gangster movie, and look, I love Goodfellas. I think Casino is fantastic. I didn't like it when I first watched it, but it grew on me. I'm like, we didn't need to see The Irishman. There was just, yeah. But
We could
again,
do a whole
take
movies that exist that need not to.
I totally didn't need. And you know what? It's these older guys clinging on to their fame instead of going, do you know what? I'm going to play the older guy now. I'm going to play the older statesman. They don't want to do that. They want to cling on to the fame. And look, if you look back and think the biggest action star in the world right now is Tom Cruise, and he's 62.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, same with well, someone who manifests what you're talking about is Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood doesn't mind having himself shot at 90 or whatever with Crime Macho, and I guess it's you notice it with Gran Torino, which is one of my favorite films.
Oh, it's
Gran Torino, and
magnificent
he's
film.
not trying to play a 48-year-old, you know. Someone in the chat says Michael Caine famously said, "Jaws 4 was an awful film that paid for an awfully nice house."
Yeah, he's Mike's a really humble guy, like super humble guy. I was very, I have another story about him. So we were doing a scene, and I'd worked with him multiple scenes, and we were doing this last scene, and I was in a car with Andy Serkis and Frank
That's a great
Harper.
actor. What a beautiful speaking voice Andy Serkis has.
Yeah, and he was about to go off to do this thing called Lord of the Rings, like to play
Yeah,
this character called Gollum, and he was
right.
like, "I've got to go away. I've got to wear this motion suit," and it was amazing. But I came out and I went up to Michael Caine and I said, Mike, can you give me any tips, like anything I could do better? And he goes, "You're doing just fine, son." That's all he said. "You're doing just fine, son."
That's a
And
very good
then
impression.
yeah, and then later on, I was watching Parkinson, which for the people who don't know, it's kind of like Dick Cavett, right? Parkinson,
Yep.
like a late night.
Carson genre.
Yeah, and he said he was interviewing Michael, and he said, "Do you give advice?" And he said, "Do you know when I was a younger actor?" I won't do the whole thing. He says, I went up to an actor that he was working with on stage, and he said, "Do you have any advice for me?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, quit." He said, "So I never give anyone any advice anymore." And I was like, "Holy crap!" But he was so nice, like so humble, and worked so hard. I wish I'd have appreciated it even more. I was a little bit so Pat. The first day I go on set, right, and it's me and him.
Mr. Shiner, you play a
Yeah,
boxer.
I play a boxer, play his son, and it's
Hmm.
my first ever movie. And I walk up, and it's opposite Michael Caine, and I'm like, "Oh, good grief!" Like everyone grew up with him, right? Certainly in the UK, and this is the first time I'd seen small sides. So for people that don't know, you get your daily sides, like the scenes that you're doing, in a teeny tiny little, like the page is like this big and they're stapled together, and you have the scenes for the day. And normally it's like 3 scenes, like that's all you get to do. So it's the first time I'd ever seen him. I came in with my big, giant script, and he got these scenes. Anyway, where it was overlooking London before London became a complete crap hole. And he goes, do you mind if I do my scene first? And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, his angle. And I'm like, okay, because sometimes some people don't like doing it first. Some people will say, you go first and then I'll go after, because I get to like warm up a little bit. He wanted to go first. I was like, of course. But again, he asked me, and I'm like, this is Michael Caine. He doesn't have to ask me. So anyway, we run the scene, and I was like, huh, okay. I wasn't like blown away by him. You know what I mean, Pat? I wasn't like, oh, he's great.
Do you see? This is a really good point, Matthew, because I've been on movie sets where people that I grew up watching, when you see them after action, it seems like such a anticlimax.
Well,
How
yeah,
yeah,
you got to let me finish the story,
yeah, okay, go ahead.
because and I've had that as well, because a lot of the time, depending on how dynamic they are in the scene and how much they know the lenses that they're working on, is it like this big, and they can really shrink down the performance. You see it on screen, you're like, oh, wow. And I can tell you a couple of people that I watched, and I was just like, you are just terrible. But Michael Caine, we're running the scene, right? We're not shooting it. We're running the scene. And he does it a few times. And so over here, they say rolling. In England, they say turnover and action. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, okay. And my butterfly is in my stomach, right? Because it's my first scene with Michael Caine, double Oscar winner. And he becomes 12 feet tall. And I'm like watching him going, what is going on right now? Just completely different performance, like just powerful, like, and I realized, like, oh my God, it's my line. And I totally forgot because I was watching him. I was just totally enthralled with him. And I was like, oh, and I said my line. I mean, it doesn't matter because the way they cut it, like what matters is what happens to him. Because
Yeah.
But he grew 12 feet tall, Pat. And I was like, okay. And to this day, and I've worked with some unbelievable actors, I have never seen anyone do what he does. Never. He was just unbelievable.
I loved him as the pimp in Mona Lisa, opposite Bob Hoskins, another one of my favorite British actors.
Fantastic actor.
Yeah. And Kathy Tyson plays the hooker. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen anything from her in a while.
Yeah, it lost. Bob Hoskins lost because it was the year that the Oscars lost me, and the Oscar went to Paul Newman for The Color of Money, which was terrible. It was the sequel to The Hustler, and there was a scene where he's supposed to be crying. I thought it was just awful. It's almost like a guilt Oscar because they passed over him so often. He should have won in 1982 for the Verdict, written by David Mamet. But speaking of Mamet, you'll appreciate this. I've had a email exchange with David Mamet. It's one of my. I mean, he's a living legend too. But he does a masterclass on screenwriting, which I took, and he said movies should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, in that order, which is why French movies suck.
No, he's amazing, and as you know, I know David. I have actually around here somewhere. I've got a letter of intent for a movie that we're meant to be doing together. But again, this is where we are in this day and age. I can't get a movie up and running with.
Well,
David
if David Mamet is looking for a Patrick Coffin,
look at that guy.
Hey, interesting. Why do Catholics, when they sit down to write movies, tend to include the bullhorn of the message or a Jesus character, or have it so on the nose that it's obvious as propaganda and not a universal story that everyone can love in any language?
Well, I wouldn't say it's just Catholics, it's just Christians on the whole. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, they want to get their movies made. And unfortunately, the people that write the checks love that kind of stuff. They're like, I want to feel good about myself when I go to mass or church on Sunday. And, if I have Jesus in it, I mean, I've worked with a bunch of Protestants and they're a nightmare for like shoehorning a pastor in there. I'm like, you don't have to do that. You know that, right? You don't have to do that. You can tell a story without a pastor in it. But Catholics, well, they just don't invest, right? So you put yourself at a disadvantage there anyway. But Catholic writers, they're just not any good. I mean, that's the upshot of it. They're just not any good because, we don't have a history of pushing people into the industry. And by the way, I know, I can see why that is the case. You don't want to send your kids off into the abyss.
Yeah, right? The maw of the machine, yeah.
Yeah, and I understand. But the problem is when someone like, we've spoken about this multiple times, when I try and get something up and running where I'm like, hey, listen, we're just going to do great stuff. It's going to be great. When I say moral movies, every movie has a moral in it. It just doesn't have to be explicit like, or the priest comes in. Look, I mean, look at, no one would say that Gran Torino was a Catholic movie, but it is an amazing Catholic movie. It's uber Catholic, actually.
Yeah. So is Grant. Yeah. So is Departures. So is Meet John Doe. A lot of films by Frank Capra. Even Frank Capra, when he was away from the church, almost like the artist is writing into his art the supernatural longing he has in real life. You see this in music as well. The music of Yes, the music of Freddie Mercury, George Michael, is this longing for the eternal love of God. You can't dewire it from your DNA.
Yeah, I mean, those guys especially, when we spoke about it the other day, have a real longing for that, and they couldn't really like reconcile that with the way that they live their lives. And I think that what it does is they almost push back, right? It's like, Dad, you can't love me, even
Yeah.
though he does, right? Like, so I'm gonna just double down on it. I'm gonna go on a downward spiral. But I think that there are really great artists out there, very, very good artists, but they just, most, I don't know, like most parents wouldn't say, go off into the film industry, which is a real loss. I mean, I don't think I know a Catholic writer that's any good. Not that's made it big, because a lot of the time what they'll do is they'll play to the Protestant sensibilities to get the money. So
I don't know what his adherence is now, but there is a Catholic started off that way. It's in fact he credits Abba Pater in the credits, and that is the Mexican writer director Alejandro González Iñárritu, whose first movie is one of my favorites, Amores Perros. He also did Birdman and Babel and 21 Grams and The Revenant. Then there's the confused Catholics who left the faith and they're trying to work it out, and that's like people like Guillermo del Toro. I can't wait to see his movie Frankenstein, but he's got all this confused symbol system. It's metaphysically odd. And I also love, and in fact, I don't know if he's Catholic per se. Maybe he is. Roberto Cuarón. Is it Cuarón? Yeah. Gravity. Great movie.
Oh, Gravity is a masterpiece. He also did Children of Men, which
And
is,
Roma.
I mean, Children of Men is one of the is up there for one of the greatest movies of all time. Like, really, it's amazing. But you find that, like, if you want to look at really great filmmakers, they're either Jewish or lapsed Catholics.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
are very few. You got your Terrence Malick, who's like Episcopalian, but the real greats are Jewish or Catholic. I mean, Steven Spielberg.
Fellini, Scorsese, Frank Capra, Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah. No, a lot of Mel Gibson.
Steve Guttenberg. No, he's more of an actor.
I love his Bible.
I see what you did there. I've never been, except for the campy era with Roger Moore, which to me is the iconic James Bond. But Bishop Thomas Olmsted wrote a pastoral letter to men called "Stepping into the." I think it's called "Into the Breach," and he notes the irony of James Bond. Bond is a man who can't bond. He sleeps around, he kills without remorse, but he's not really. He can't get and keep the girl. But now they're starting to. But I mean, I care about it as a cultural artifact, and it bothers me that they want to wokeify James Bond. Got to be black, got to be Asian, got to be disabled, got to be next up is going to be a woman, and so on. Now you're an Englishman. Bond is a British creation. What have you to say about the history of how that whole franchise has made its leftward turn?
Yeah, I mean, it's I actually tested for one of the Bond films.
Thank you. Why not James? Why not you?
Well, I mean, I'm too old now to do that, but I mean, I'd love to. It's every British actor's dream to be James Bond, and I'm no exception. I actually tested for the one with Halle Berry in, but remember the one where the Korean guy gets plastic surgery and he becomes British, and it was Toby Stevenson who got it. Well, I tested for that role, which was really amazing. I met Barbara Broccoli and everything, and that was really amazing. But there was something in me at that point in my career. I was like, I don't want it because I want to get Bond, and I thought I had a shot back then. Maybe a little bit delusional, but
Roger Moore was 53.
How old?
53.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look up on his wiki.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe I can still do it, but they wouldn't have me. But look, I think the thing about Bond that was amazing is that he was a tough guy, but a tragic character, right? Like super tragic. That the way he lived his life it was very superficial, and it's actually. If you look at a lot of guys right now that come out of the special operations community, they struggle with that as well. They struggle with, the PTSD of actually not feeling like they can be loved, or they're physical specimens, so they tend to pull beautiful women, and then it always ends up in disaster one way or the other. But I think that there was a message in that. Right, like Bond was, you might say, oh, Bond's cool, he's got the car, he's got that, but what does he really have in the end? And when you start moving him away from that, then you start destroying the character and you destroy the tragedy of James Bond. And they've destroyed, I hate the Daniel Craig movies. I hate them.
They're uber serious.
I
There's no sense of fun. That Roger Moore was fun.
like him as a Bond. I've never understood him as a Bond. I love Pierce Brosnan. I thought he was a fantastic Bond. But I mean, of course, if I'm going through them, it's got to be number one is going to be Sean Connery. Number two,
I'm Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. Yeah, Sherlock. I said that to your wife. I'd say Sean Connery's because he's such a dude, masculine man. Sean number one, Piers number two, number three, Timothy Dalton. I actually am a massive fan of Timothy Dalton in that role. I thought he was completely underserved. And then
cut the feed. Yeah, he went with Timothy Dalton. Yeah, cut the feed.
That's number three. I thought he was better than. Look, I mean, I have it's like Doctor Who, right? I kind of love Tom Baker as Doctor Who, but that was because that was the era that I grew up watching Tom Baker, and I'm sure you were the same in Canada. Like we watched like Moonraker and all those like cheesy. I mean, who didn't want a Lotus Esprit after seeing that thing come out the water? Just the coolest thing, but super cheesy. Like one of my favorite movies actually is Live and Let Die. I mean, I think it's a really great film. But
there's a Guinness Book of Records broken during that film. The motorboat that flies over the party on that little canal was the longest jump in history for the filming of that
those
film.
guys are unbelievable. Now listen, someone said I'm easily pleased with Tim Dalton. Go back and watch him. Go back and watch Tim Dalton now.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Timothy Dalton's probably the best actor to have ever played it. I mean, if you go and look at his history of, his RSC trained, he was in, hey, listen, another guilty pleasure that I love this movie is Flash Gordon.
I never saw Flash Gordon.
What?
No, I'm sorry. Don't hate. Only love.
Oh, I love Flash Gordon. It's just a great cheesy movie. But Tim Dalton's in that actually. But he's, I mean, not Shaun of the Dead. Hot Fuzz. Skinner.
Hot Fuzz is a very interesting movie. A lot of Masonic exposure in that movie. Watch Hot Fuzz again for what they expose about Freemasonry. It's super interesting.
I love that movie.
Simon, what's the actor's name? Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg.
Yep. Good dude. Matthew, why is Hollywood now afraid to roll the dice on original stories? Everything's a remake. Everything's DC or Marvel. And there's everything's resuscitating things that are, I mean, I just saw this today. They're remaking Amadeus.
No, they've done it. They've remade it. It's done.
It's up and out. Paul Bettany. And I don't know who these people are, but it's sort of like gilding the lily, isn't it? Like, what's next?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, you don't have any risk takers anymore in Hollywood, because what they've done over the past 20 years is they've DEI hired. So there are so many people that don't deserve to be there and aren't real artists, and that just got into it for the wrong reasons. And I am going to say this about the United States. The good and the bad of the United States is you can walk off the street and be a star. If you're a British actor, the chances that are very slim. Like, you're doing it because you love the job. And then
Yeah.
if you break through, then you've got a certain level of competency. So the majority of British actors have gone through a system like I did. I did GCSE, which is like the high school. I did GCSE drama, then I did A-level theatre studies, then I went to do a degree in performing arts and left before I finished because I was getting work. But I also got National Youth Theatre. So all in all, that's many, many years of drama training. Whereas in the States, you can be the high school quarterback, go to an acting class and walk on and get a movie role. And that's both good and bad, right? Like it's good because, you have that raw talent that gets out there and there's not the kind of gatekeeping that you get in the UK. But also when you get on set, a lot of the time, these guys don't know how to act. They don't know how to hit their marks. They don't know how to look. They don't know continuity and all that. So that can be bad. But if you think of that on the DEI scale, where they're letting people in because they're guilted into doing it. So now you have a lot of people at the top that they can't fire because they've DEI'd themselves right the way up there, mainly a lot of women. I mean, there are some great women like Catherine Bigelow, who's amazing, but there are a lot there that are just terrible and they weren't told that they were bad or that they had to improve. Whereas over years, if you're especially a white male, there was no, your stuff had to be good. You weren't getting any hand-ups on anything regardless.
Yeah.
So what you have is a whole generation now of people that are scared. It's run by accountants. So what they do is they'll go, okay, so imagine you're putting a movie together, right, Pat? And this is the way it goes. They'll go, okay, well, we need a script. Okay, well, they haven't done a reboot in blah, blah, blah for a while. And the reason why they say that, let's just say Ghostbusters, for example, which the first one was, I can't even talk about it. The way they changed it. But anyway, if you look at something like that, they'll go, well, Ghostbusters is a franchise, so that lessens my job risk.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about my job now because I can just go, oh, well, it was Ghostbusters. Or we went for Ghostbusters because it's a big franchise. That's number one, right? Number two, what do? They get actors in that have name recognition. Okay. So they'll go, oh, well, it was Ghostbusters. And look, we had I don't even know what the women are who were in that one, but we got Chris Hemsworth in as a bimbo, receptionist. And that should have brought the women in, right? Like I did all that. And that's the way they make a movie. They cobble it together by going, I want to get IP. I want to go and get the actors. I'm going to get this kind of director. And then they put it out. And they go, well, because it's all about their own job, right? Well, I did all the right things. It must have been them. And so if you're going out tomorrow and you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this new edgy movie, blah, 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 blah. They only do that, by the way, with woke movies that they want to influence the culture on because they know they're going to lose money.
They know that movies win hearts and minds. Hey,
yeah, and they don't care.
Well-heeled Catholics, call your office.
Yeah, and by the way, it's... as Stallone said to me, he goes, it's forever. So people think, oh, that it doesn't matter, that movie flopped. No, because it's out there now forever. And they will put it out again and somebody somewhere will come across that and it will affect their lives. So they play the long game with that. But that's why, Pat, effectively, and then you look and you go, well, look at what they did. I mean, they're probably the greatest trilogy of all time is Lord of the Rings, based on, the greatest... second greatest book ever written. It's a book series, obviously, but then perfect casting, perfect directing. It was amazing. And then they did a cash grab with the second one with The Hobbit and destroyed it. I mean, The Hobbit is crap. And my friend's in it, and I feel really terrible. I mean, I would love to have been in it, but it's not a good film. Well, the three of them are not good films. The CG is worse than the first one. I don't know than Lord of the Rings. I don't know how they managed that. But I'll still sit down and watch Lord of the Rings. And by the way, I do want to segue into something else, Pat. When you're talking about great actors, there's one other guy that to me he does stuff that you go, you shouldn't be able to get away with that. And that's Alan Rickman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Alan Rickman. I first saw him in Truly Madly Deeply.
Oh,
he's one of those guys. I couldn't look away. He's just so riveting. I had the similar experience watching a movie called Pay It Forward with Spacey and Helen Hunt, and the actor. I wondered if the character is a heroin addict, homeless guy, and when I saw it on the screen, I thought, did they hire a heroin addict, homeless guy? I could not stop watching him, even though I couldn't catch him acting, and that was Jim Caviezel.
Jim is Jim's a very special individual. And you know, it's funny because I saw him. He's so wonderful. I saw him like 2 years ago. I think it was. He was in Dallas with Mel, and I never think he's going to remember me. And I went up and I went, "Hey Jim, it's Matt. I don't know if you remember me." And he goes, "Matthew, of course, you know."
Yeah.
But his performance in The Passion of the Christ is one of the greatest performances of all time. And the fact that he did not get an Oscar for it just shows you how bad Hollywood is. Because I will tell you as an actor that although he's a fine actor, right? He's a top, he's A-list, he's a top actor. That performance was just on another level. Just beautiful. The pain, like you know, Jim. If you've ever been around Jim, like I've sat with him a couple of times, and he's given speeches, and it's almost as if it flows through him. I don't know if you've had that experience, Pat. It's like he really is a holy dude, and
He's very, very childlike and intense. I met him at a men's conference that I spoke at, and it turns out Jim's a big fan of close-up magic, so we kind of did some sessioning. But he's very, very in the present moment.
yeah,
He's masculine, but he's childlike.
there's
And
something very, very special going on with Jim Caviezel.
I'm a little sad that Mel Gibson has decided to save money on the CGI to de-age him, because he's been talking about this for years. Oh yeah, Jim's going to be there. I saw the Finnish, which is to say Nordic, which is to say kind of off the beam from the character of Jesus that they're going with. All the cast has been replaced. It's not going to be one sequel, it's two. It's going to open on Easter, and then the second one on Ascension. And I don't know, I just I know I'm Catholic and I don't believe in juju, but there's something something bad omenish about it. And I don't wish, failure on anybody, and I love the movies of Mel Gibson, but they're going to meld two scripts, one by Mel Gibson's brother and the other by Randall Wallace, who's an amazing writer. I know you've met Randy Wallace, and I don't know. I just think it's a massive roll of the dice. Jim told me 5 or 6 years ago that the Randy Wallace script is going to be, he said it's going to be 10 times bigger than The Passion of the Christ, which was already ginormous. So all these last minute things, they've already started shooting in Rome. I think they're going to shoot in Malta as well. What's your take on this really clearing the decks and starting over kind of late in the game with this? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because, I mean, firstly, Randall Wallace is an example of a Protestant that can really write. I mean, that guy, he's probably the only one that goes out there and writes this kind of stuff that doesn't shoehorn stuff in. If you look at the other movies that he's done, he's an exceptional writer. But, Mel, he hasn't made a bad. I mean, when he did Man Without a Face, I know he was going to quit. He said, "I'm not going to do this." I mean, I think he is on a different level talent, and I think that comes from the fact that there is a little bit of unhinged in there. Like there's that creative genius, like Van Gogh. It's that kind of, and you see if you watch the scene in Lethal Weapon when he puts the gun in his mouth.
Dude, I thought, is this like Hitchcock killing his star off in Psycho? I thought he's gonna. I thought he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
He's so good.
He's so into that moment with the tears and the photo of his wife, and I thought, well, it's 20 minutes into the movie. That's how good that scene was. Yeah.
He is. I'll tell you this, Pat. He's a phenomenal actor, and I think that people forget that because he did the action role for a bit, and he's good looking, but every movie he's done has been spectacular. I mean, if you look at Hacksaw Ridge, I remember watching Hacksaw Ridge and going, "How do you direct a movie like this?"
Yeah.
Like
Give me
he's
one more,
so
Lord.
good.
Give me one more, Lord. Just one more, Lord.
Oh, it's just, I'm like, how do you make a movie about a guy that goes to war and doesn't want to shoot a gun? And Mel just kills it. I think that part of me is understanding that he doesn't want to do the CG because it never looks right. I mean, although now, to be honest with you, you could AI it, right? Like you could AI it and have Jim the way he was back in the day.
I mean, I'm AIing you tonight, so I mean, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. I'm not even here. I'm in the bath. But anyway,
Oh, it's glitching.
no, but so I understand that. But Jim Caviezel, I mean, listen, if Mel would have called me up and said, I want you to play Jesus, that would have been a very difficult decision to make, to be honest, because you want to do it. Because, I mean, well, and by the way, Jim is Catholic. He's a real believing Christian, which makes a big difference. I don't know if this new guy is, but I'm presuming he is. But there aren't many Catholics up there.
Less than 1% in Finland.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not, but who knows? He might have a conversion. And I do think there's something, I experienced this in Black Hawk Down, like, you want people to love the country to play soldiers, and you want someone to be a Christian to play Jesus, like, or a Jew.
There's a fittingness to it. Yeah.
But yeah, I understand that he didn't want to do it and he wanted to recast, but I think everyone's going to be going, well, he's not Jim Caviezel. Everyone's going, well, it's not Monica Bellucci, because they were so amazing. It's that there's not a weak spot in that film, not a weak performance. I mean, remember that part where Monica Bellucci's on the floor and Jim, draws the line in the sand? I mean, it is just unbelievable.
Playfully splashing his mom with the water when he's made a table.
And
Just little moments. Little
dude,
moments.
the bit where he says, "Behold, I make all things new," and
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and I to this, dude, it gets me emotional to even. That's a movie that I have to really prepare myself to watch.
Yeah.
But there's not a moment in that where I see Jim Caviezel.
Mm-hmm.
I see Jesus all the way through.
Pietro Berrubi, I think is his name. He's the actor who played Barabbas. He went onto the set as an atheist. He's raised in Italy, and he's written a book about this experience, filming the movie. Mel did not let him meet Jim. They didn't do a table read before that scene where it's Barabbas versus Jesus in front of Pilate. And the first take, according to the actor's account of it, was he's like sticking his tongue on, and he didn't want Jesus or want to Barabbas, and the crowd goes crazy, Barabbas, Barabbas. And he turns and he looks at Jim, and the camera is it's a medium shot of him reacting to seeing Jesus for the first time. And there's something happens in that scene to him. He's like jolted. That's the take they used. And he said, that is the moment when I got the grace of faith. I did not see Jim Caviezel. I saw the eyes of Christ scourged, and that was it.
Yeah,
That moment in that film.
Yeah, and you can tell in that if you watch that is just so real. And I think that Mel just got lightning in a bottle. Look, he's a master filmmaker. He will go and make a fantastic movie. Whatever movie he does, it's going to be better than anything that's out right now. Do I think it's going to be difficult? Yes, but I think the people are so starved for it, Pat. As long as the script is good, which I'm sure it will be, because I remember before The Passion came out, it was like, oh, it's like this weird nun that wrote this thing. Oh, it's going to be crazy, and then it comes out, and you're like, and by the way, like the transgender devil.
Get it? Yeah. 25 years ahead of the game to cast the devil as with a woman.
Yeah, I mean he's brilliant, but I mean, look, the movie's going to be amazing. It will be amazing. Will it capture what the passion. I would be tempted to just leave it if I was him, because that movie is so perfect. But
He,
Mel has a lot going on, doesn't he?
yeah,
And you can see
he does.
he pours it into his movies, and that's what you want, right? You want that. Leave it all on the field. The amazing thing about him is every single time you see his movies, you can tell he has given everything to them.
Yeah, you're making a good point about him having a lot on the go, and don't count him out. He followed up a movie set thousands of years ago, or well, 2 millennia ago, with subtitles in a foreign language. And then what does he do next? He does a movie that happens 500 years ago using subtitles in ancient
Yeah.
languages with Apocalypto, which is like, to me, back-to-back masterpieces. Apocalypto,
That movie
he's
is
a
unbelievable.
first-time writer, and it's just a depiction of what you cannot accomplish in a book. Great
Yeah, I
movie.
mean he's massively talented. I mean, it's kind of frustrating as well because he's such a good actor and he hasn't really done anything in recent years that, I mean, he should be doing something that gets him Oscar nominated. I mean, I know he was talking about directing Lethal Weapon 6. But I mean, I'd love to see him. I know he did that movie. What was the one like the professor and the
Professor and the Madman is
yeah
written by a friend of mine, Todd Komarnicki. That got locked up in a legal battle.
yeah, which is
I haven't
really
seen it, but I
unfortunate.
heard it's lovely. Did you see it with Sean Penn?
No, I haven't seen it, and I mean, he's another one who I cannot stand, but he's a great actor. But I think that Mel will have his moment where he'll come back and he'll do a role that will blow everybody away because he's just so talented and like when I met him, he was like, "All right, mate," and he just went into this whole spiel. I'm like, "It's all right, Mel. You don't have to do that." But I mean, I would love to work with him, because I think Mel needs like men around him that will challenge him.
Well,
And
Mel
you know
watches
me,
all
Pat, I
that.
don't give a shit. Like, I don't care who you are. You're not going to push me or bully me. And I think that would be a good thing for him because everyone kisses the ring. But anyway, I do. Let's go back, Pat, to the worst movies. What movie do you hate?
Godfather 3 is up there because I love the first two a lot. Grease. I hate Grease. I fell for Grease when it first came out. I was in music theater at the time. I was up for Danny Zuko with a theater company I won't mention. And so I just thought it was a slice of 50s Americana. It was it was kind of riding the Happy Days wave. Grease is a tender ode to fornication, or how close you can get. Did you get very far? Tell me more. Tell me more. It's this horny
Yeah.
teenagers trying to get laid. Roll the credits. And Sandy, the ingenue character, the great and beautiful, may she rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John,
Oh,
is so gorgeous and angelic. But then she sleeps with him, and then she's the black leather tart smoking. And that's supposed to be the pot of gold? No, it's like exactly opposite. Another film I didn't hate, but I thought it got its premises backwards, or act 3 should have been first, and that is La La Land. With La La Land, very stylish film. It's a tender ode to Los Angeles, and it's got a lot of old school homage content to that era of the post World War II musical. But the character played by I can see his face very, very clearly. He played Neil Armstrong in The First Man. Ryan Gosling. He takes the career at the end, doesn't get the girl. No. I'm sorry. You're supposed to sacrifice the career to get the real gold, which is the girl. I thought that was a flat ending. It started off like a roaring lion and then ends up as the fart of a fly. So for that reason,
well, it's a bait and switch in it, and they do that a lot. And of course, it was the darling of the Oscars again because they're pushing an agenda. I think that there's quite a few movies like that. I think for a movie that promised much and then just destroyed the franchise. Well, as it would say, it's destroyed the franchise, but you know what I mean? Like Godfather 3 has got to be up there. I think that the modern Star Wars movies are just crap.
They
Like,
got worse.
just absolutely crap.
Downton Abbey's gotten worse and worse.
And same with all of the Marvel movies are dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually like when I watched, what was the first one? Infinity War, and then there's Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not being funny, but this just like this is what turns it off for me. And I loved the first one. I didn't like the way they ended it, but I liked the first one, and I liked the way the second one started. But then when they go, yes, like me and my husband, and you're like, why did you have to say that? Like, why do you have to inject everything? You have to inject it. Like, you didn't have to do that. Like, nobody cares. Just leave it. And then then the girl boss thing at the end. Anything with girl bosses in, I'm like, I'm checking out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm checking out and by the way, going back to Olivia Newton-John, I fell in love with her. I remember seeing her because Hopelessly Devoted to You
Mm-hmm.
was, I think it went to #1 in the UK. And as you know, I've married a brunette. You know, I'm quite one for dark. You know, my thing has been dark women. But man, I was so in love with her. But in love with her as Sandy D. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted her as that innocent girl with the American all American sweater on.
Yeah.
I never liked.
Donna Reed-esque.
Yeah, I mean it was really disappointing. I mean, but again, the music is incredible. Like, you know, the music. And I actually, here's another story. The guy who directed that, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, is a guy called Randall Kleiser. And I went to his house for an audition because there was a movie that he was doing with Lindsay Lohan that was, it was basically about a rock star that thinks he's stranded on a desert island. It was a really great story, but really he's on a bay that's next to where his hotel was. And I had to go and meet with Randall Kleiser, and I go there, and like Lance Bass was there from NSYNC. Is it NSYNC?
Of course he was. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was there, and then I had to do an audition. He was like, you know, Matt, you're the number one. Our fans in the UK have said that you're the number one choice for this role, and I was like, oh, great, okay. And then Lindsay Lohan turned up, and clearly I didn't get the role, but the guy that got it is a really nice guy. His name is Adam. I can't remember his second name now, but he was in Coyote Ugly. Like a really nice guy, like super nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
But Randall Kleiser, and I remember because he did Grease, then he did Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields. Was
And
that Return to the Blue Lagoon, I believe.
White Fang as well. He's a long-time working director. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had his house in the hills was pretty spectacular. But I'm trying to think of a really. Oh, I'll tell you what I hated. Okay, I can tell you a movie I hated. And I was like, oh, what a shit film. Was
What?
Deep Impact.
Yes. Yeah. That was the other. Sometimes movies come in pairs, right? You had Rob Roy and Braveheart, Deep Impact and Armageddon. It's the father-daughter the subplot with the big wave coming, and I didn't care.
I just hated it.
I wanted everybody to drown in that wave. I didn't
I was
care
like,
about
just wipe them out. I don't like them. Wipe them all out. Now that because what they do in Hollywood, again, you've hit on something there. Do you remember it was like Dante's Peak and Volcano?
Yeah.
Deep Impact, and there was another one. It wasn't Armageddon. There was another one that was like that, whether it was Day After Tomorrow or something like that. But they used to because they try and rush them into production. Like you'll see one and you'll be like, hang on a minute, like I'm getting a script for this. This is almost identical to the other one. And they rush to get it out, which is kind of funny. But I remember watching Deep Impact and I absolutely hated it. I was like, that is 2 hours of my life that I can't get back.
Yeah. Let me press rewind. I did some research for an article that I did that actually connected me with the only living cast member of It's a Wonderful Life. Her name is Carolyn Carolyn Grimes. She plays Zuzu. Remember Zuzu's Petals?
Yeah.
So I've interviewed Carolyn and actress Donna Reed's real life daughter, Mary Owen. And the reason that happened, that Mary, who at the time lived in Manhattan, wrote to me because she loved an essay that I wrote called The Little Story That Did, which is on the making of the film and how the script parallels the life of George Bailey in the way that it finally reached the desk of Frank Capra. And the first guy to be offered the role of George Bailey was Cary Grant. Now, Cary Grant had his agent worked both in RKO and also, I think, in Warner Brothers. And to make a long story longer, the reason he didn't accept the George Bailey role for Capra is that he was already signed to play an angel in another Christmas-themed movie called The Bishop's Wife, which also starred Carolyn Grimes as his daughter, Debbie. Now, there's a lot of, you're talking about movies get rushed out, and this is kind of similar. There's a lot of thematic borrowing, shall we say, from It's a Wonderful Life in the movie The Bishop's Wife, starring David Niven and Loretta Scott. He does play an angel. It's very, very super charming, but there's a lot of stuff that they, what's the saying? The good borrow, the great steal. So if you watch the 1946 film, 47, Bishop's Wife, it very, very uber similar to It's a Wonderful Life. So these things happen. What's next, Matthew? You have scripts in the pipeline. You're looking for funding. You have some kind of quasi-promised or intention to collaborate with David Mamet. Is money usually the big stickler to get the light to turn green?
Always. Yeah. And because you don't tell when I'm very, very, as you know, Pat, I'm very direct and very honest with people. So I don't BS them. So look, there's a couple of things that's going on right now. Like I said earlier, I think we have a lack of hope. We have a lack of aspirational movies. And the only way you're going to do that is by going to people like me who've been doing this for a very long time. Unfortunately, like I said, you know, Pat, back in the day, I got cancelled. And that's all part of the left to try and take you off the playing field. And we need to put movies out there. And I hate to say this, and not expect a return. And I know that is a very difficult thing for investors, especially conservatives, to hear. But here's the thing. China has a 1,000-year plan. Saudi Arabia has a 1,000-year plan. They don't care whether or not the movies they put out make any money. They're battling in the culture war. And we can't engage on the same level if every single time we go and do a movie, people are like, well, you got to make sure I get a return. Because what does that mean? That means I've got to go to the well. What is the well? Hollywood. I've got to go back and get the same actors that hate you to put in the movie. So it needs to be, we need to unearth new stars. We need to be able to put great stories out. And the great stories will always win, Pat. They will always win. But conservatives don't look at Soros. He'll just I don't give a shit. I'm just going to throw a bunch of money at something and see what happens. And we don't do that on our side at all. And some people may say, well, that's because we have to indulge and engage in the culture. We have to do it. And if people don't believe me on this about how tight people are, Mel Gibson couldn't get the money for The Passion. So it's not about talent. It's not about whether or not it's going to be good. It's the mindset of conservatives that need to wake up to the fact that they've got to build something. Like, do you think that people said when they were building the Vatican, they were like, well, I hope we get a return on the investment. Yeah. No, it's there forever for everyone to go to. Nobody was looking at getting money back out of it. And the culture is the same. And people don't understand it because, think about this. Film is the ultimate art form. It's the ultimate art form because it has all the other art forms in it. It has music, it has writing, it has acting, it has cinematography.
Dancing.
It has art. Huh?
Yep. Dancing.
Score, dancing, whatever it might be. It has all those things in. And these cinema is the American art form. And the left knows it, and that's why they've been pumping out, subversive stuff for the past 25 years. And we've been sitting there doing crappy Christian movies that nobody wants to watch. That we all go, okay, well, I'll go and watch it because, it's a guy from the church, and I want to support that. But really, you're like, I want to get home and I want to watch, The Godfather. I want to go back and, like I said, just watch Ridley Scott's The Martian because it's fantastic with top-notch, top-notch acting, top-notch sets, great writing. And what do we get? So right now, if you think about this, Pat, the next movie that Chris Nolan's putting out, which is The Odyssey, which go and have a look at the cast of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to cost $400 million. I can't raise $1 million for a movie. I can't raise more $1 million. And I'm someone that's been doing this for 30 years now. And, if you want to, look at my track record, you can see it. But conservatives will not part with their money, right? They want to see something back. And I'm like, what you will see back is the culture.
Yeah, they all watch movies themselves, and they all instinctively know this. But it's not a brick and mortar thing, so it becomes extremely abstract, and then everybody gets paranoid, and they read about the low chances of a solid ROI, and that's where it ends. They just treat it like a business plus nothing.
By the way, do you know what other movie had a very low ROI?
What?
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete flop, but it wasn't a huge hit. It didn't win the Best Picture Oscar. It won an Oscar for special effects. But here, let me find out.
When you think about it, Pat.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the impact that movie's had over years and years and years, it just shows you that, and again, I'm not asking people to just flip their money away. But what I'm saying is the other side, this is asymmetrical warfare. They are pumping money. Even the Chinese are pumping money into Hollywood films. And we have nobody. Nobody will put, even if I was to go and say, hey, listen, I've got this great movie. And by the way, this has happened to me. I've gone to someone and they've said, we love this script, we want to do it, but we don't want you to direct it. And I'm like, why would I give you the script if you don't want me to direct it? Build something. I Am That Man has 5.4 million views on YouTube alone. That, if I was a lefty, people would be going, how much money do you want? And we don't do that. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's like a spiritual thing where people don't get it, whether it's, because I don't bend the knee all the time to people. And I didn't realize that, I always say this, Pat, if you want to direct a movie, you've got to be a benevolent dictator.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that we can maybe close on. It's an anecdote told about Mother Teresa, and it's probably anecdotal, but it goes like this. The day she dies, she's ushered into the presence of the angels. Almighty God comes out of the clouds and draws close to Mother Teresa, who's in her humility looking down at her rosary beads. She can't believe she's there. And God says, and all the angels and saints turn, Mother Teresa, you have devoted your life to glorifying my name on earth. You've served me in the poorest of the poor. Whatever you want to do now, whatever you want, what your deepest dream is, I will make come true. What is it that you really want? And she slowly looks up from her beads and she says, I'm really glad you asked, Lord, because what I really want to do is direct.
Now that's funny.
Thank you. One last film I didn't really like. I don't know about Hatred. It's sweethearted and a nice try, but it's Frank Capra's last movie. It came out in 1961. It's called Pocket Full of Miracles. It's the second time he filmed the same story. He did the same story in 1930 with Dame Mae Whitty. It's called Lady for a Day. That's a sweet movie from 1930. It's his first color film. It's the movie that Bette Davis was recruited out of retirement to do. She plays Apple Annie. It's based on a Damon Runyon short story. Glenn Ford, who apparently is a royal jerk in the movie, in real life. Capra kind of gets the last laugh in his autobiography, which if you love Frank Capra movies, run, don't walk to get a copy of his autobiography called The Name Above the Title. So good. But it's clunky, and it's Capra was 63 at the time. And like like Coppola, Frank Capra moved to Fallbrook and grew grapes for wines. He had a winery in Fallbrook, Nova Scotia. In fact, I had lunch in his house because my friend Tom Allen bought Frank Capra's house. It's so cool to see his signature on the deed from like 1946 or whatever. But any last movie you have a special non-love for?
Non-love for. I think that there's a couple of movies that I really loved as a kid, like you were saying, and now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there are some questionable things that like I loved and must have watched 1,000 times. Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't watch that with your kids. I mean, I don't know how I didn't pick up on all the stuff, and I just loved the movie. I think it was because I was in love with America.
Yeah.
So there's that, but there's a bunch of movies like Rendition, like a lot of stuff that trashes the U.S. military or trashes, that really drives it. Rendition, like Green Zone. There was a big spate of them after Black Hawk Down came out. I mean, we kind of made like the defining war movie of the 2000s, and then they tried to, I mean, the latest DC movies, I could go on. Like, I thought the first Wonder Woman movie was okay, and then the second one was just utter crap. Highlander 2 has got to be up there because I loved Highlander. And by the way, they're remaking it. I met the guy who did John Wick, who was actually the stunt guy in Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
Stunt coordinator. He's doing Highlander now. He'll do a great job of it. But again, I mean, I think that I worked with Russell Mulcahy on Resident Evil Extinction. So, that was a real big thing for me to go and work with that director because I loved Highlander so much. But Highlander 2 was just, I remember watching it going, what am I watching?
Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Awful.
Awful. Then the first one is like the scariest movie of all time.
Yeah, really stands out. Well, Matthew, thank you for your work and your willingness to take it on the chin and your stick-to-itiveness. Maybe we'll do some kind of collab and turn this ship around. It just takes it's a combination of a small number of people who are all willing to say yes to the same mission. You don't need an army. You just need a small minority who are willing to put it all into the field. So, as always, pleasure to have you. If you want to join the True North movement, this is the kind of thing we talk about all the time. Go to patrickcoffin.media. I also teach online courses on Catholicism and culture and how to explain and defend the teachings of the Catholic faith, especially the most difficult, controversial, and tough ones. This October 20th to the 25th, I'm doing a course called Faith Under Fire, and you can see that inside patrickcoffin.media/course. We'd love to have you and learn from you. I'm drawing the line at 30 students only for Faith Under Fire. Matthew, what's the best way to connect from right now to you? What's the shortest distance? What's your .com? Where can people
well, I have MathewMarsden.com, but really I'd go to Matthew D. Marsden on X or Matthew D. Marsden on YouTube, trying to build that. One of the things I'm trying to do there, Pat, is trying to say people, look, to get involved, just come over and click. Like, just click the button. Show me that you're engaged. Show me that you understand it. And it's just proven me right now because I have 187,000 people follow me on X and 17,000 people follow me on YouTube, which shows like people won't get it, that they want it to be transactional, right? They want to get something for it. And what I'm trying to say is, no, it's not about that. Like, we're out there trying to build something, build a community, and you have to get involved. Otherwise things aren't going to change.
Yeah.
And it's not transactional at that point. So,
yep. Join the great conversation. Matthew Marsden. Oh, last question. Did you hear about the famous actress who was stabbed? Reese.
Now what?
Reese.
Is this a joke? I don't know what you're saying.
The famous actress who was stabbed. Reese.
Reese who?
Come on.
I don't know.
How many Reeses do you know? Actresses. Famous actresses.
With a spoon?
No,
with a knife.
All right. We got a
You couldn't.
million dad jokes
That's
over
a
here.
terrible way to end it.
Million of them. Million of them. All right. Well, we're going to talk when your movie gets greenlit. One of the things that you have in production, we'll talk again.
All right, brother.
And I want people to go to YouTube, and I hope I want to embarrass you a little bit, Matt. Matthew, he could still do it, but Matthew was a chart-topping mega singer in England, and it almost there's a lot of things can be said, but I just watched I forget the name. It's not She's Gone. It's not The Heart's Lone Desire. The backup singer's name's Destiny's Child.
Yeah,
And
she's gone. Yeah,
what is it?
She's gone. Yeah, it's
She's
beyond.
gone. She's gone. Phenomenal. More charisma in your baby finger, brother, than most of the bot bands we have today. So retro kudos. Fantastic. All right, so check out Matt's regular live streams. How many live streams do you do a week?
I do normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, definitely at midday Central Time. Sometimes I change it on a Friday, and then on a Sunday at 2:00.
And you've got listeners and people who chime in, like our good friend Lisa in the UK. So you're
I've got great people.
International-based conversation.
Great community, and by the way, I'm very grateful to you because she has been amazing coming back to the faith, and that was all down to you. So.
Well, it was the Holy Spirit and her guardian angel and her natural intuitiveness. But that's because you had the open door to talk about anything. There's no taboo topics on your stream.
No,
I want people to throw over there. So one more time, Mathew D. Marsden.
That's it,
Right?
Mathew D. Marsden.
And my middle name is also David. So there's that. Click.
It's a good Hebrew name, right? Mathew David.
Yep, correcto. Yeah, Matthew was my confirmation name.
Is that right?
Yes, actually. Yep. All right, brother. Take care. Be aware and don't stare.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Ciao, ciao.